Alright, soccer goal tripod strikes again. The biggest thing is just to get it to stay on there. If the wind comes a little bit, it tends to want to fall to the earth. So, my name is Evan Strong, and I make videos like this, geared around the lacing of our shoes, the tying of our shoes, and the things within the clothing that we wear, especially in modern 2024. There's a lot of man-made materials, and there's a lot of designs that just weren't there only a few decades back. Okay, so I talk about how we are all universally designed in the image of our living God, who is Jesus Christ. And that is how, same way how you can sit within a class and learn the anatomy of the body, learn the skeletal system, and it can apply to just about every single human across the globe within their very slight differences, surgeries, deformities, injuries, whatever it may be. There is a universal human design. And I just shed light on truth. I talk about the human body, and what I talk about is how the thing that's always on the human body, being our clothing, is really the only thing that has the potential to always alter the human body's natural function, okay? So I make very bold claims how we should not have to stretch unless something very major happens. I do not stretch. I say that we should not have to exercise just to get exercise in, because again, I don't do that. When it comes time, I do exercise, and if I want to, I do exercise, but not to maintain any kind of like fitness, okay? We also don't need to work out to work up to a certain capability level, because the body is designed to work, and it does it well, again, until it's like restricted, altered, right? So I have a few prerequisites that I always state. They are to lace your shoes with my technique found within my content in many places where you're finding this video. Do that. All that does is allow the shoe to fit on the foot as a glove does on the hand, allowing the functionality to be there without altering its natural universal shape and workings. So, but you have to tie your shoes, this is part of the technique, evenly toward the inside, okay? And I've gone into very great depth. All of these things that I talk about within the human body are universal, undisputed truth on the workings of the skeletal system of the human body, okay? So, pairing the lacing technique with removing the tags in the shoes, you have to remove the tags or else the lacing technique won't feel quite right, and I've gone into why that is. So remove the tags stemming at the tongues of your shoes up through the entirety of all the clothing that you ever wear. I've gone into where my content's placed, each and every tag and its placements and what it does to the body, and I show free modifications you can make to the clothing you already own with nothing but a pair of scissors. Within my content there you can find those kind of things. I'll talk at the end about clothing that I will be designing, minimal clothing made out of 100% natural materials to just allow the body to work. I'll get into that later. But my approach to the human body being clothing, and how I'm allowed to move and operate and balance and stand and have the strength that I do, and you can see again within my videos, like, my body works well, I understand it well. I'm not throwing out opinions here, I'm just speaking on truth. The way that I've allowed my body to get to where it is through the clothing. I don't do exercises. I've never given an exercise in any of these videos. Today's the 21st of September, 2024, and up until this point, I don't plan to ever give any kind of exercise or stretch. The way that I'm allowed to do that is because the skeletal system has a position, and I talk about how the body really only has one position. I made a video called "The Body Only Has One Position." Sounds weird, but really it does. It has a foundational position that from there it either hinges, or it reaches, or it rotates out of. So, a big thing within clothing, I always talk about, it needs to sit, anything we wear on our tops, right? Shirts, t-shirts, or long sleeve shirts, and then shirts over that, or coats, or jackets, or hoodies, anything that goes on the body, there's a seam, almost always, on top, right? The point about saying almost always is sometimes you're wearing like some kind of shawl, or like, you know, there's things that don't, but something like this, there's seams up here. And I always mention, as I will be incorporating in my designs, the seams within shirts need to sit behind the shoulders on top. I've gone into very great depth on why, but I'll talk a little bit more about it here. But then also at the edges, they should sit no farther out than the edges, just right where the arm moves, right? So Yeah, pants need to sit above the hips, slightly higher in the front than in the rear. Again, things I'll incorporate into my designs within the clothing that I will make available to purchase, right? But there's a lot of reasons as to why those top seams need to sit behind the shoulders. Because within our pecs, right, if you're a man or a woman, you still have the musculature there, the pec muscles that just allow motion, right? Allow the pecs just, again, all the musculature of the body does is operate the skeletal system. It's about the skeletal system of the body. That's what I approach, right? Is the skeletal system. So when you have those top seams sitting behind the shoulders, I also always talk about internal rotation, how that's so absolutely necessary to have. Well, what that'll do is open up this upper pec. Now, with these kind of shirts, like general button-up shirts like this, 100% cotton, they usually have this like double seam, okay? So if you're looking at it from the front and you don't really understand what I'm saying as of yet, and you're thinking, well, this isn't quite behind your shoulder, it is because this unit as a whole, this like band of material here, all works together to like stays in the same place, and it's all back here, right behind the shoulder. So this top seam, even if it comes, well, I mean, still it should be back there, you know. But like within this kind of design, like I'm saying, it's got this patch along the back. So I'll take this off in a second. In a minute here, I'll take this off and show you the blue shirt underneath, where those seams are sitting, also to just kind of discuss both, right? Especially having layers. But this upper pec, right? You have your clavicle. Actually, maybe that's why I kind of choked. I get told stuff like that, like why did that not feel quite right? I'll take it off now because I gave enough visual that I needed to give with this, because I'll talk about it a little bit more, but to give the visual of the shoulder seam sitting behind that little bone on the top, right? I've talked about it, I've gone into it, I've shown it, but the point is, with this upper pec, this is your clavicle, okay? It's your collarbone. It comes over, it comes all the way up to here, okay? It's a big long bone right here, clavicle, collarbone. Now, I'll probably discuss this more also in other videos, but the collarbones do a lot to the body. They have a lot of motion, right? Check this out. You can see my collarbone. It's moving all the way up to there, all the way down to there. It moves. Now, having the shoulder seams behind the shoulders open this space here, okay? And when you breathe, you need this upper chest to be open, right? If you think about, again, I don't use the word posture. I've gone over it many times because the body just has a position it works in. But when people would talk about like good posture, it looks like, because they say the words, put your shoulders back. I always say we should never be conscious of anything. Don't tell your body what to do, because we can't. It only works how it works. I nor he or she can actually tell our bodies what to do. That's when we start getting sore and injured and stuff. But being able to open this upper chest here, right, is very important. And, well, okay. I was saying I was going to mention, collarbones in a later video. That's what I'm going to gear this video around, is actually collarbones, right? Yeah, okay, then we'll have to cover it also later in a really similar video as what it would end up being. Your collarbones should sit like this. They should be going up, right? From the center where you can see my collarbones protrude because I'm pretty slender, but also my body's in a good position, natural position. So from where your collarbones start here to where they end up here, they should actually be going up, okay? Now, when you see people standing and their collarbones are flat, really what that means, it's nothing about their quote-unquote posture, it's their clothing, okay? If your shoulder seams come in front of your shoulders, you'll do this. And I step back because that's how you'll feel. So you'll try to be standing normal, you'll feel like you're falling backward, and your feet will point out. Your arches will collapse and they'll point out. Now your internal rotation and a natural gripped arch with good nails on the toes is now gone if the shoulder seams fall in front of your shoulders. So that's a big thing, is you can look at the collarbones and you can just tell if somebody can breathe well by just looking at them. I mean, they can be clear across this field as long as I could see their collarbones well enough, like, you know, in the angle they are, like by just looking at their shirt, really, you can see how well somebody can breathe by the angle of their collarbone. Because this collarbone, if it's flat like this, you can't expand your rib cage, because this collarbone determines where the shoulder goes, right? It spans from here to here, right? And this is my normal stance, it's more like up here. So with my feet in, pelvis posteriorly tucked, internal rotation, centered, activated muscles, right? Things I've been over, the collarbones have to be up a little bit. Universal human design, that's just how they work. So having the shoulder seams sit behind the shoulders then allows that shoulder capsule to sit in its normal position. Like, watch my scapulas, right? If I'm here and my collarbones are pretty level, how they should not be, universal human design, look at my scapulas. Now, if I put my collarbones to where they normally would be, now look at the flatness of my scapulas on my back, and they're allowed to have motion, okay? Also the tag, again, it's my prerequisite, has to be taken out. Universal human design. Your body can't work with a tag in the rear of your collar. It cannot, no matter who you are. I couldn't have a normally working body if I had tags in the rear of my collar of my shirt. It cannot happen. So, these collarbones have a natural upward, okay? Now, I actually had a pacemaker that they put in for 2.5 weeks, and then it didn't heal, and they were worried it got infected, so they took it out. I was 17 years old. I actually told that story within these videos, but so if you can see a little bump there, it's a little scar tissue from a pacemaker scar. So that's a whole thing in itself. But the point being, the collarbones need to be a little bit up, because from there, as I talk about the body only having one position, this is your natural neutral shoulder position. Then you go here, you go here, you go clear back here into internal rotation, external rotation, you go clear up here, right? You reach, you go on your toes and reach farther, but nothing really moves. It just, the socket and the ball do its thing, right? In their position. So this upper chest is very important, but not that you have to train it. Just keep it in its natural position. So that's what will happen if your shoulder seams sit behind your shoulders, but then also the ones at the edges shouldn't go farther than the shoulders. Because if they go down, even if back here is where these top ones are sitting, now your shoulders are trying to drop to, like, talked about this before, but the body kind of like tries to find seams within clothing, if you will. So having them behind the shoulders, when you bend over, notice my shoulders will go here to like find the seam and keep me active on the arches of my feet in internal rotation, right? So they need to be behind the shoulders to allow that upper chest to open. The reason I came over to make this video was because of this shirt. Now, I'm nothing about the brand, nothing about the designer of this actual shirt. I'm not trying to call anyone out, but I'm showing what this actually does to the universally designed human body. This zipper, okay, you can see there's a zipper. You can close it and you can open it. I actually haven't seen if it's a real pocket. It's not. It's just a design choice. Again, I'm not calling out the design, but that sitting right here, especially zipped closed and excess material really stiff, it doesn't allow those shoulders to get, not consciously, but you know, like in a position they'd normally be in, it doesn't allow them to get there because it's stiff, and it shortens this gap, and you stand in external rotation. It's hard to get that chin tucked, which it's not a tuck, but right, just a natural position, because this needs, the front of your chest needs to have room to open. Those collarbones need to be up in their natural positions, and then you can breathe, because it actually takes the muscles within your, I've mentioned how the jaw stabilizes the entire body. There's muscles that come from the jaw down into the neck, up into these first ribs, and these first ribs actually elevate to open the rib cage, right? There's a lot I talk about how it takes the entire body in some form to breathe, and breathing is what constitutes human life. So if there's excess stiffness in the material of the exterior of our bodies, in our clothing that we're placing on us right here, that's not allowing this and this to allow natural openness in internal rotation, then we're just not going to be able to get there. You know, we can't fight clothing. It's something I've been over a lot, you know. It's because our body does so much without us. We don't tell it to breathe or beat the heart or heal itself. The body's always doing what it's doing. That's what I say when I say we can't tell it what to do. You can't be conscious of just trying to expand your chest because there's excess material on the front. So a lot of times I don't like logos, right? With my clothing, it's gonna be minimal to the point there's zero branding or logo of ours on the exterior. We'll have it on the inside, just so it's, you know, branded as ours, but it's not gonna be outside. A lot of times you'll have a logo of, if you have like a work uniform, especially, right? Up on this left upper pec here, it's where like the logo will be. And that excess material, whether it's ironed on or whatever it is, that's usually what it is, like kind of heat shrunk on there. Or if it's stitched in, that's even thicker excess material. You know, it just doesn't react the same as the rest of the material of any part of the item of clothing that could stretch. There's less stretch there. So now when you're breathing, you're trying to breathe more over here, and it's playing into the same patterning that I talk about throughout the body, right? So yeah, just trying to keep even left to right within clothing, front to back within clothing is what I do, and that's within all the free modifications that I've shared within my free videos. That's what I allow us to do, right? That's how I've allowed my body to get here. I haven't, as of yet, worn my own designs. I've only worn clothing I've purchased from other people, just as everybody who's watching this has the potential to do. And then I just made this slight modifications that I've shared here to allow the body to work. So yeah, the upper chest is very important. And it's little things like that. I mean, because that shirt also has double pockets. But I actually, in a lot of ways, like double pockets, because then again, it's even. Yes, you do have an overlap from the shirt, but doing the modifications that I've already shown within that to keep it centered doesn't really matter as far as I wear button-up shirts like that, and it's fine, right? There is an overlap. It might be doing a tiny bit of something, but it really is pretty good. But having a double pocket then keeps it even. But then not only that, within this shirt, you also have those zippers. And on pockets on the front of shirts, don't button them unless you're actually really trying to keep something in. And I can't really tell you what to do if you want it to look nice, like style-wise, but I'm not really into style. I'm into the function of our natural human bodies. So if you do button that shirt up, same thing, there's just restriction. So unbutton it, and then it can have more room to just naturally open. Again, opening is usually internal rotation. I've gone into that. So yeah, those collarbones, watch those collarbones as far as your own. They're naturally, again, universal human design. If you got your very own specific body, you got a deformity, that's your case. But I mean, really, universal human design, the collarbones need to be elevated a little bit from the inside, where they start here, toward the upper part of the shoulders. Well, I mean, because really, they go to the top of the shoulder, but they start down here, you know? And so, again, you can't reach in a position your body's not designed to reach it. So, universal human design, universal truth, okay? Just shining light on it. So yeah, the upper chest, really, like I said, this video is about the collarbones, because that's really how you can tell. If you're wearing something and it's causing your collarbones to get closer to like a horizontal position, well, check the stiffness in the front. Because also, just if you have designs on the front of it, not just like one little like branding, but you've got a whole design on your shirt, stitched in, stamped on, it's gonna be hard to stretch that material. And when I say hard, again, it's subconscious. The body's gonna notice if there's nothing on the rear of it, that it's easier to go this way. And yes, that can be internal rotation, but normally if you're reaching with internal rotation, your shoulders are still in a good position up here, because once they come forward, you can't quite do the same natural motion. So your body will sense stiffer in the front than in the rear, and then it'll just cause you to stand like this. Again, it affects the entire body, and things that I've gone into in very great depth within my content. So yes, when it comes to wearing clothing that fits, that works, I've given pretty much all of the modifications that anybody would need within any clothing, as far as at least foundational things, pants and shirts and shoelaces, shoes as far as removing the tags, and socks. But I will be designing clothing that just allows the body to work without having to do any kind of modifications. And that's going to be great for both I and anybody who chooses to purchase it, but just please only purchase it. I mean, I'm saying like, don't buy it in a size that is oversized. Only purchase it if it actually fits, right? Because that's the whole intent on me designing clothing at all, right? It's not about a brand, it's about function. Like I said, it won't even be on the exterior of the clothing. It's the designs of the cuts of the material where they sit on the body. So yes, the upper chest, it's about the angle of those collarbones, right? Because if I'm here, collarbones pointing up, then everything within the body can be in a nice, natural, stacked, even, slight bend, active, internal position. The position I'm always showing, the position that I call the body's only position, right? So, yes. The upper chest. Okay. So there's things you can just check within clothing. Like I was saying, anytime you have anything on the front of the clothing, it has the potential to shorten the distance between the front of your shoulders, which is your collarbones, right? So just make sure that you can naturally open your chest, right? Nothing that you're doing conscious about standing a certain way or sitting a certain way or anything, but just the way that the body would breathe. Check your clothing to make sure that you can allow your body to just do what it would do. Right here is the focus for this video, okay? So, yes. Very common, and there's, things within the hands, definitely. Using things we have nowadays will very much alter the shoulder. I talk about how the hand is essentially the shoulder, because anything that's going on down here is affecting up here. Anything that's going on anywhere within the body, something else and many things have to compensate. So, check your hands as well, but the point is the angle of those collarbones, naturally about here, without being conscious, but yeah. So, anyway, thank you. Check out my other content. Stick around for clothing if you'd like to. I can't tell you as of now when it will be coming, but it will be coming. So again, my name is Evan Strong, and that's why it's very important to have those collarbones at a natural upward toward the outside angle. Okay, thank you.